Live on DAZN Worldwide, May 2nd and 3rd, Garcia versus Romero and Canelo versus Skull. Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern, Garcia returns in a history-making Times Square takeover. 24 hours later, Saturday from 7 p.m. Eastern, King Canelo faces undefeated Skull for the undisputed crown. May 2nd and 3rd, a knockout weekend of boxing. Pick one or go all in for only $90, exclusively on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
You're listening to Make It, the indie film podcast. Hey everybody, this episode is brought to you by the new Insta360 X5. It's the new flagship 360 camera from Insta360 with 8K 360 video and enhanced low light performance for all day, all angle shooting, improved audio, 180-minute battery life, and user replaceable lenses that make it the most durable 360 camera yet. A new mode captures flat and 360-degree shooting simultaneously for instant MP4 sharing, plus 360-degree footage to reframe later. X5 is an instant classic, and it's perfect for action, content creation, and everyday life. It's like having a Red in your hand, like a miniature Red there in your hand, if you know what I'm talking about, filmmakers. So if you want to pick up yours today, go to store.insta360.com, put in our promo code. It's MAKEIT, MAKEIT, and pick up yours today. Again, that's store.insta360.com and use promo code MAKEIT to get yours today. And now, on to the show. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Make It podcast. I'm your host, Chris Barkley.
It's so weird. I was still expecting like, hello, Chris here, but that just wouldn't work. So anyway, Hello, Nick here.
Well, Nick, by the way, what's up, man? Good to see you.
Always a pleasure, brother. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. I don't know if people realize like the craft that goes into that intro, that every word matters because in the order of the words matters because
and the intonation.
In the intonation matters. We used to have a different intro, and it always put us in a weird situation where people would say hello at the same time. And it seems like ages ago that we did that.
Well, it was fun though at the same time because people like, Nick and so-and-so introduce yourselves. We're like, right, but who goes first?
I think Sam and Papa Bear would agree. It became tropey. It became like a little, we kind of like beat that horse until it couldn't breathe.
Beat that horse.
PETA, that's a metaphor. We don't beat horses to make the podcast. No. Okay. With us, speaking of Sam and Papa Bear, they are with us. Where did Papa Bear go? How do you? No. This is what how's he going to leave on the introduction,
bro? This is Papa Bear. And what do you get? You get this. Get that hand. What's that hand doing, bro? And now he's on mute. He's on mute.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You're purposely on mute.
He is trolling all of us right now, and he knows it.
Intern Sam, producer Papa Bear, please say hello.
Hello.
There we go. And with us today,
the hand is I'm left-handed, and all the controls are always on the right side.
Now you're being defensive. You're being defensive about Nick's hand comment.
I gotta love some PB, man. You gotta love some PB.
You're like dabbing. What is this like?
No. And Chris, you and I can't help it. We're using our dominant hand just like he is.
Yeah, that's true. I use my dominant hand a lot. That came out wrong. Anyway, with us is our esteemed guest, Brad Starks.
Was that a pun as well?
Can we start over?
No. Can we start over? Wait. Was that a pun as well, Chris?
Yes, it was.
It came out wrong.
It did. Okay. That's what she said. I don't know what this. I don't know. Literally don't know what to say to that.
I don't know either. I'm confused.
All right, guys. This has been a great show. I appreciate you coming on, Brad.
No, Brad. Brad. We got to bring Brad in,
and
man.
We'll try this again.
No, just bring him in.
What a great show this was, guys. I appreciate it. No, I'm just kidding. Brad, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Make It podcast. It's so good to have you, man.
Aloha, guys. That is great. That's probably one of the best intros, Chris. Don't let them shame you on that. I've heard of awkward silences. This is the first time I've seen like an awkward intro, but that's okay. Dominant hand.
That's what we do here.
That needs to be make it swag, a t-shirt, you know?
Yeah. That's it, Chris. You got it. It's just going to be called Dominant Hand. Period.
Dominant Hand. This episode, we can call this episode Dominant Hand.
Yep.
And maybe we'll start a podcast series called Dominant Hand. And maybe, you know what? Can we win a Webby for this? Can we win a Webby for this intro?
Chris, and what we're going to do is we're going to get Sam
Can we win a Peabody Award for this intro?
Look, I'm going with the one that says Dominant Hand. I'll rep you, bro. I got your back. Mm-hmm. But we're going to get Sam the one that says Blind in One Eye.
As long as we stand side by side. That'll work out just fine. Now, right. Brad, do you want to tell everybody why you said aloha? Like, where are you located right now?
I'm actually located and coming to you live from Maui, Hawaii. And before I sort of like get into that, you guys, I'm a huge fan of the show. Thank you. I got a couple of shout outs. Obviously, Chris, Nick, thank you for having me on. Got to give a shout out to our favorite wolf pack out there, Kaya Alexander. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Kaya, sort of sharing your information with me. So Kaya, thank you. Kaya, we also want you to know that between me, Chris, and Nick, we have your black funeral covered.
Right.
We just got to make sure that nobody brings messed up potato salad like walnuts or raisins, right, Nick?
No raisins. You won't even be let in, or you'd be kicked out. Like,
Let me also just quickly give a shout out to my guys, Kavika Hulk, Jonathan Melikidze. These are my partners in crime who helped create and both co-write the television show Moku Moku. We also are the co-creators together of a place called Laulima Studios and Laulima Public Broadcasting and content creation. This is a brand new nonprofit. And gosh, what else can I say? Guys, this is exciting to be here with you. It's Black History Month, and also it is Hawaiian Language Month, which I don't think a lot of people really know.
I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Yes. So I appreciate that. And yeah, full disclosure, depending on when this is released, that's right. We are smack dab in the middle of February, actually just a day before Valentine's Day. I love love. And this intro, if that was any indication, we all love love of any kind. That comes our way. So Black History Month, Hawaiian Language Day, and Valentine's Day all wrapped in to one. And a couple of questions just come out of this right away. Sure. So with your TV series and with your studio, can you give us the meaning behind the name? And then also, why is the TV series so unique and special? Because it is unique. I don't want to give it away. I want to hear it from your voice.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah. That's a great question, Chris. Laulima, the word means many hands. With that in mind, beyond sort of the mission statement of us trying to make meaningful content that's well written, that's entertaining, but also educational, as far as illustrating what it is and what it really means to live in a diverse community like Hawaii. Unfortunately, not a lot of people really know. I mean, like if you were to ask someone in one of the flyover states what life is like here, everybody thinks that it's based off of a stereotype from like 1965. Oh yeah, everybody lives on the beach. Everybody wears sort of like coconut bras and like
Elvis movie
thing. Yeah. So what we sort of discovered after working on like nonstop like Lifetime projects, Hallmark kind of like things where the heroes and the main people in the story, come from middle America. They have problems. They come to Hawaii. They bring their problems with them. They don't engage with the rich culture or the people that are here yet. At some point, Margaret actually hears like the Native Hawaiians or the black and brown sort of like people that they're too busy drinking their weight like in Mai Tais to sort of like have, informed conversations. They overhear them talking about something that might have to do with the culture that solves their problem. Mm-hmm. And then off they go back to Utah. They solve the problem and then they roll credits. Well, we got kind of tired of that. I mean, it was a great opportunity, obviously, to sort of work with mainland crews, and it always is. But, we wanted to try to dispel and kind of break that up with an accurate depiction of the community that live here and the people that live together here in Aloha. So here comes Moku Moku. Now, Moku means it's part of a. Let's see, if you have like a landmass, and part of that landmass is unique in where it's situated. The word literally, I believe, translates into district, but it's a portion of the land that stands alone and is singular from the rest. It has like its own personality. So that being said, the show is about three friends who grew up or who are living in upcountry Maui, specifically an area called Makawao. Now, again, Makawao challenges all of the stereotypical ideas of how Hawaii is represented and has been represented. Magnum PI, Hawaii Five-0. These are great shows. I mean, I grew up on all of these kind of things, but literally you would think that Hawaii is just a never-ending beach. There are beautiful beaches here. We know that. But now, this time, you get to see another side of what life is like in Hawaii. And it's upcountry, it's rural, it's lush, it's green, horses, cattle. I mean, you get to experience this, and also you get to see life hilariously through the eyes of three familiar friends who are just trying to make it by and are struggling with a lot of the socioeconomic problems that other people might have, like in Oklahoma or in Utah, like we were talking about. So the show is an opportunity for us to start a conversation, an honest conversation with everybody else, who might be interested. And local humor, I mean, it's hilarious. We really enjoyed making this, and it was really an effort of a lot of friends who have worked together for years, who were just like, man, if we ever get a chance, we need to actually make something that speaks what it's like to live with people with aloha.
Right. Yep. I love that. And we'll talk a little bit about the importance of local crews and why it means so much. But I think those watching the podcast will notice, and I mean this in the sweetest way, but they'll notice that you may not be Hawaiian yourself.
What?
How did you fall in love with this culture, and how long have you been here?
It's coming on. Oh no!
Right.
I'm sorry, Chris. I'm being stupid. What'd you say?
No, it's great. No, that was great. It was wonderful. I'm just curious, and I think I'm sort of asking the question the audience might be asking, which is, how did you end up in Hawaii, and how long have you been there, and why do you love it so much?
Great.
Because we can tell you care.
Yeah.
And what you said before, what brought that caring?
Well, let's see. I mean, I moved here after having lived for several years in New York. My professional background is in fashion photography and advertising. I became obsessed with photography as a young kid. My mom was very much sort of like a creature of fashion. It was an artistic background. My dad used to play for the Jets. So while they were living in New York, my mom was exposed to sort of like fashion and sort of like that lifestyle a little bit. So I grew up in a house that was filled with magazines. So I begged my parents probably when I was about like 12 or 13 for a camera. Like my dad.
What kind of camera was it? Do you remember what kind of camera it was?
I desperately wanted a Canon AE1. And all of these Andre Agassi sort of like commercials of him playing tennis. And I mean, I remember begging for that. We had no money. I mean, there was absolutely no way I could get one of those. But
people forget how famous Agassi was. My mom wanted me to grow my hair like Agassi. I said, look at me. No. It's not possible. Anyway, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, I ended up getting a Yashica GH1, which was a rangefinder camera, and turned out to just anything in my hands that I could take pictures of my friends with. So through the years and through high school, I lived in a meditation. I had covers of Interview magazine, Harper's Bazaar, GQ. I knew who.
Good taste.
Yeah, I knew who photographers were. I knew who the models were. I knew who fashion designers were. This was like back in the days when Calvin Klein, was becoming like this huge sensation. And by the time I was getting ready to graduate high school, by the time I was a sophomore, I knew I wanted to go into fashion. So didn't have enough money to go to Brooks, where a lot of successful fashion photographers go, but I went to Columbia College in Chicago, which is a fantastic program. Was lucky enough to latch on to some really great mentors there. Became a teaching assistant, and at the end of my first semester, I was starting to shoot models for all the big major modeling agencies, Elite, Ford, David and Lee, Stewart, Talent. These are a lot of Chicago, centric names that you guys might not be familiar with, but just those early, those early days of shooting and assisting other working photographers was fantastic. I was able to just put together a really, really good, comprehensive portfolio. And then what ended up happening was a lot of the models whose pictures I was shooting, they were going off to Europe. They would come back after being there for 5 or 6 months, and they'd be like, hey, man, this is my agent's contact information in Paris. He told me to tell you if you want to come out there, they'll set you up. You can shoot their models, and they'll help you meet the magazines to get work, to get started. Well, that happened for like an entire summer. And, I was just like, wow, I should give that a shot, So went ahead and did that. It scared the hell out of me. I'll be quite honest. But went out there, and, I went out there with this idea, I'll go out there, I'll shoot for all the magazines after like 3 or 4 months, and then I'll come back to Chicago, I'll open up my studio, and, that'll be it. And wow, I ended up with an agent in Spain, and instead of staying there for 3 months, I lived there for like almost 4 years. Wow. That was one of the best experiences for me as a creative and as a freelancer to have lived in Europe. A lot of those contacts I still have to this day.
Was it Madrid?
Yeah. I was based out of Madrid. Carlos Mundi is the name of my agent who owned international bookings out there. And I'm always indebted to him and his whole crew because I learned a lot out there.
Yeah, I love Madrid.
That's a great story.
It's like it's hard to say it's a more cultural New York City because New York City is highly cultural, but it's an architectural sort of historical version of New York City. I'll put it that way.
You're 100% correct in that. Now, after having been in Spain for a while, all of my contacts that I had met over the years, a lot of them were in New York. So I ended up going to New York. A lot of some of the models that I worked with in Spain worked for big designers in New York. I began to sort of shoot showroom catalogs and things like that. Worked my way up sort of the ladder. A really great friend of mine, who I'll never forget, Susan Portnoy, was working at the time for Nicole Miller. And I was able to make a great connection and continue my interactions with Susan. And a great opportunity came where I got to shoot 2 2 billboards for them that ended up like in Times Square.
Wow.
Huge break for me. And for that, I am forever grateful to Nicole and to Susan for giving me that shot. But that was one of those situations where I really learned the mechanics of the fashion business in how photographers work with the modeling agents and just how that whole system kind of like works. So after like about 30 years. Yeah. 25 years of being there, the recession hit. And
can I stop you before the recession though? Because there is a trope in the fashion photography world where you're asking these models to be tigers or, be a bad panther,
be a monkey, right?
Be a monkey. But I had a really close friend named Chris Crago, who, if you can imagine, like a young, handsome Kramer from Seinfeld, he was kind of like my Kramer. He would just pop into my apartment from across the hall whenever he wanted. And no, seriously, he did. And he's an amazing photographer. And I remember he had done well enough to get a studio, and a big, large studio. And he said, "Do you want to come and just hang out at the studio one day?" I said, of course I want to do that. Of course I want to do that. So one night he invites me over, and I said, okay. He said, no, just sit here and just be natural. I said, okay, fine. And I thought, what the hell does he mean? What does he be natural? Why does he have to warn me to be natural? So I'm sitting down chilling, and then all of a sudden, I start to look at maybe the full aperture of this large studio space. Imagine something that's very like brutalist in style. It's concrete floors, and one naked woman passes me, then another naked woman. And it turns out there's 15 just naked women just walking around, and they're acting like they're not naked. And
what are you supposed to act like when you're naked?
Like you're naked, and there's a strange guy on the bench that you've never seen before that is fully clothed and not playing along.
I don't care about this guy.
And Chris, shout out to Chris Crago if you're hearing this. He also had this. He had this learned sort of photographer behavior that was so casual. And he also wasn't recognizing they were naked. He was just there to shoot them, like with the camera. So I just was curious, did you have to build that up through your experience, vast experience? How did you handle going from an amateur where you were this kid in high school that wanted to be in fashion to now I'm a pro. I've shot the best models for the best organizations and had my work displayed in Times Square. To that person. I mean, before you get into I know that next part, but before you get there, that's curious to me, just how long did it take you to develop that sort of professional patina, if you will, that says, I don't care what the woman looks like, the model looks like, the man looks like, or how they're dressed. My job is to be in the moment and just shoot this.
Yeah. It's a great question, Chris. One of the things that I would say that makes a great photographer, a great still photographer, or a great director for that matter, is the connection that you have with the subject that you're going to shoot. Some people are better at that than others. Act natural. Yeah. What does that mean? I mean, but some photographers may say that because they want you maybe to sort of have a look of, of being sort of like confused or like whatever. But I'll just tell you sort of like
that's interesting.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I'll give you a perfect example of that quickly. Richard Avedon, one of the best advertising photographers in fine art, portrait shooters. Of the United States, he did this incredible series called In the American West, where he shot pictures of drifters against just like a stark white background. And he didn't give them too much direction, and it was just about their look. And these are people who live on the street, so it's just very stark. just what it is. And he didn't really give them that much direction because he didn't want it. Now, conversely, there were times in famous portraits that he did of royals where he would do these incredible sort of beautiful pictures of them to gain their confidence. But then his fine art portraiture, which was different, where he wanted to examine their darker sides. So he would tell them things, like to their face, like, if I'm really sort of like out of sorts or I seem like I'm kind of distant, it's because on the way here to the studio, I saw like a dump truck run over 6 or 7 dogs.
Oh my God.
And at that moment, that shock registered, and he would take that picture. And that's a picture that you can find. That's a picture of the Duke of Windsor and his wife. And you look at that picture and you can see that they just have this dreadful look. And if you just saw that picture of them, you would think, oh my God, that's the Duke of Windsor and that's his wife. They're supposed to be like sort of like these, beautiful, every night a great party. But my God, but photographers can be manipulators that way to get what they want. Now, what I like to do with my photography is I like it to be, and this is sort of like the style I like of a lot of the photographers whose work I admire, Arthur Elgort, we can go on and on, but I like it to be something where it seems like we're just hanging out and we're just going to have like fun. Yeah. And we're just going to engage in conversation. I'm going to talk to Nick, and Nick and I, we are big fans of Uncle Roger. Fuyo, and this is something you guys can talk about later, but we're going to hit it off on something that we both connect with. And then I'm going to be like, hey, man, let me get a shot of you like over here. Just look at me. Just, don't think of anything in particular. And then maybe I'll say something to get him to laugh. And then I'll continue to snap, and then I'll put the camera down and we'll get some coffee and we'll continue our conversation. And then I'll come back to it. Cameras are machines in which when you grab it and you pick it up, I
was just going to say that.
Sit up straight. Come on, Chris, smile, So when, photographers deal with a psychology, and when you have a client, man, we cast models for certain looks and all that kind of like thing. So that was basically how I got into it. And you talk about your friend with sort of like the nude models and all this kind of like thing. Now, I pride myself as a beauty photographer, and I've sent you guys, some of my nudes and stuff like that. And I've been able to get some of the models that I, helped discover. I've been able to, get them, Victoria's Secret campaigns from the nudes that I shot with them. And to be able to shoot that, there's a level of trust that you really need to have. And there's a connection that you really have to have because, women are so intuitive. They know. And, and I was doing my work back in the day when Me Too didn't exist. And one of my I got to give a shout out to Marie Anderson, who's one of my mentors, who was the time I got involved in photography was the executive vice president of Elite Models, and she gave me my first shot. And I just learned a lot, and it's a great experience when you're working with a model in partnership because it's a great collaboration, and it's just like working on a film or something like that. Many hands. Back to the word laulima. I mean, it takes a collaboration, to really make something beautiful. I'll end it there.
I love that story, and I love that insight. It was really great because it is also the trick that a photographer uses to get the sort of shot they want from their subject is also a directing trick that good directors use. And sometimes the conceit of it can go really far. The trick part of it can go really far, I should say, where you have sort of a pre-production meeting. You're saying, okay, this is what we're going to shoot today. Can we sort of create an environment, right? So let's say the shoot involves someone climbing up or down a ladder, or involves someone at a cafe table. Can we set up a table and then set our subject, our actor there, and just let them do stuff? Say, hey, do this, like give them a task, and not let them know we're shooting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So somewhere over there you've got a zoom lens, and they don't know you're shooting because that's the whole thing. And then maybe you have a prime, like maybe you have an 85 somewhere else, and you're shooting that, and then you're getting that shot, and they're just doing their thing. They're just being themselves, because what you said is so true, especially if you're shooting like a commercial, or you're shooting a music video, or you're shooting a TV show, and maybe you have younger performers. It's like, once you say action, they don't climb the ladder like Brad. They climb the ladder like the actor Brad, right? And then it's like, that's not how people, you're right. That's not how people really climb a ladder. And then we didn't get it, right? Or that's not how people really pour coffee. That's not how people really write a note or scribble a note to themselves so they can remember something. And the audience is so smart, they pick up on that.
Authenticity, yeah?
Yeah.
Authenticity.
So you just catch them being themselves, and that's a great way to do it.
I'll give you a case in point. It's just a great thing that you've touched on. Okay, so Kavika Hoke, our showrunner and co-creator of Moku Moku, and Jonathan Melikidze, co-creator again, and also writer. So they work together on creating the script. We do a read through. Then on the day, we begin to shoot the scene. The Hawaiian culture is pervasive with a slang called pidgin. And
okay, Nick, do you know about pidgin?
Yeah, of course, man. The kind, bro. You know.
There you go. And depending on the origin of what part of the island, it's different. So one of the great things that we were able to do that we didn't see anybody else doing on the sets that we would run through a scene and we would do it like as shot. But then we would be like, now, wait a minute. Now, would you say it that way? Or because your character's from that. And then we would pick up the phone. Let's just call auntie or uncle who's over there, and let's just ask him. And then we, like in real time, we would ask auntie, hey, auntie, uncle, how would you say this? And then we hear him, let's do it. And then we go right back to work. And, just that attention to detail alone is one of the things that just makes Moku Moku like so special.
Huge. And I totally distracted you and derailed it. I know we do want to hear how you got to Hawaii.
The thing I wanted to ask though is
it was a Greyhound bus, guys.
Right. That's everybody thinks.
So the recession. No work. Photographer rates are plunging. I after like a year of sort of like discovering that, and before that happened, I had transitioned into doing some creative work for Makeup Line. I was going back and forth between New York and Japan with some friends. The recession hit, and then we had to close that down.
Yeah.
I go back to Chicago, and Facebook is on the come up, and Messenger has just kind of come into being on that.
So this is like 08-ish, 09. Yeah.
I reconnect with a friend of mine who invites me. He goes, hey, listen, we're looking for a photographer to help us shoot this job. Mm-hmm. We can afford to pay you half your rate, but for the other half, we'll throw you the keys to this place. We'll throw you, there'll be a Jeep there. You can get stuff from like Costco. Just stay there for a couple months. Like if you want, would you do it? And I was just like, well, yeah, where are we going? And it turned out to be this beautiful place here, like in Maui. So that's how I got here. I shot what they needed literally like in about 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Or no, in like 2-3 days. What am I saying?
Oh, okay. So,
at that time, Relativity Studio was looking at opening up kind of like a Pinewood studio type thing here.
Yeah.
So film and television was sort of like kind of coming into its own. And
is Relativity still around, Sam?
That might
be gone, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're around anymore.
But anyway,
I was trying to get fashion work by flying back and forth between Maui and Oahu. Nothing was happening. So I was just like, well, geez, what else can I do? Let me look into, well, there's film and television work, so surely there's got to be commercial productions that are being done here. And I did my own production for years while I was in Europe, and while I was in that, let me see what I can do with that. So I started to meet with all of the top production houses here. And then that was how I began to meet the network of professionals that live here. And just, MTV ended up coming here. And I was just like, you know what? This is an opportunity just for me to network and work side by side with a lot of the people that I already know. So I did a season of that, just like as PA. Worked my way into the second season when they came back. I started to work with all of the location producers, started to kind of like see and learn what it was that they did. Time went on. I worked on a lot of other commercial productions as the years went on. Temptation Island came, and I was able to jump on that and network really effectively to when the second season came around, I got hired as an associate producer. And that was where I really sort of got my feet wet. I used a lot of the connections at that time. I had been there for, I don't know, I'd been already here for like more than 6 years. So I knew a lot of people. And one of the things I really saw and took notice of from working with all those big crews is just the ego that they bring from the mainland. And it just doesn't go over here. You're lucky to shoot.
Nick's told me about that a lot. Actually.
Yeah. And it's different here because, these are tribal lands. These hotels and these resorts are built on burial grounds. A lot of the people who work for these resorts, their family have been moved off the very land for the place that they're forced to work for. So it's different. It's different. But again, my production sort of experience grew through that while working on sort of like these Lifetime and some of like these Hallmark movies. I was able to meet Kavika, and there was a producer there that he approached and said, hey, man, like if we came up with something that was produced locally, would you back us? And he was just like, he's just like, did you guys ever see like Letterkenny? Or like Dairy Girls or Reservation Dogs. And he was just like, we could do that. And then that was from that inspiration and from Kavika's talk with him came the idea for Moku Moku. And then from, I believe, and maybe you guys hopefully you guys will have him on the show. From that moment, when he started to kind of come up with his, it took us like at least like 2.5 or like 3 years to kind of like get it together.
That's incredible background on that. And, one of the things that comes out of that story for me is are there enough crew, talented people? Are there post-production houses there to actually do it? But I know before I get into that, Nick had something he wanted to ask. I want to pivot here to Nick before we get into some audience polls. Nick, what's popping?
Yeah. So I was going to ask about the authenticity, and I feel like it can be a challenge when you're talking about, I don't want to say diverse, but local culture. And because you want to be authentic, but it can be very easily turned into a caricature. So how do you manage that? Because there's elements, I've seen Moku Moku, right? I've seen a bunch of those things, and there's parts of it that from, my experience, and of course my wife is from Hawaii, our experience there and her experience, like you see some things like, oh yeah, that's straight pigeon. But then you have these times where it's like you can tell that they inserted the pigeon, right? Like you said, where it's like you wouldn't have said it that way if you're from there, but you can tell sometimes. And the same thing is true with, let's say, urban culture, right? When they have something about black folks that are in a certain area, where it's like, I see what you're trying to do, but maybe you just upped it one little notch, where now the thing that you're trying to show as authentic seems more like a caricature. So for some people, you're celebrating it, right? Or for some people, you're just making it comedic, right? That's what you do in comedy. You got to take it a little bit up. You just got to level it up. But then at the same time, they could look like blackface, right? or
I
whatever.
Thought Blackish was guilty of that, Nick.
Well, I didn't watch that show because of it. Like I could not handle that.
And I know that's controversial. People like that show. I never liked it.
Yeah, me neither.
It wasn't a really good mirror to black people.
No, it was blackface to me. So so how do you handle that from your own perspective, and how do your people handle it? Like, it's difficult. So for me, when I watch some of Moku Moku, I get some of that. Like I think the aunties and the uncles, they're straight up like, that's straight just pigeon. That's natural. Some of the younger cast, you feel like, oh, you inserted that word right there, right? But that might be my perspective.
Yeah.
So what is the perspective like from the people of Maui who are watching Moku Moku?
Great, insightful question, Nick. Thank you for that. I would love to speak to that. We have a native Hawaiian head writer who puts his stamp of approval on that very thing. Kavika, the show is from his experience of being native Hawaiian and going through that disconnected kind of feeling that a lot of native Hawaiians actually have. He and Jonathan, between the three of us, they have lived on Maui the longest, but we rely on the authenticity and the experience of Kavika. And, it hasn't let us down at all. And all of our lead characters have lived on the island. And yeah, you asked that authenticity. Our casting can't be beat because the very people that we cast are of the community. So it's a lived experience. So, if you do a line reading with somebody who's actually been to war, you're going to get a much richer read, and they're going to be able to put a lot more feeling into it. And then our sets, the way our sets run is that we rely on our actors, a lot to be able to infuse and add a little bit more. I mean, like it's just a real great collaboration, and it was exciting to see. I'm sure you guys have seen all these behind the scene interviews with people from Seinfeld, and they saying things like, "Oh man, well, the first time we sat down, we knew we had something, and this and this." And I always kind of think, everybody just says that. That's really the feeling that we had the first day we had a table read, and we were falling down laughing because everybody was putting their 2 cents and their experience into it, and that was what really made the distance and a difference. And that's, Nick, how we really address authenticity, and it's an open conversation. After the first screening that we had, we sparked a lot of arguments. There were a lot of people, well, why don't you have, him do this and do this? And, you sit there and you listen. And from my experience, usually my response was, hey, man, I feel exactly the same way you feel. And this is a work in progress. And I'm glad that you brought that to my attention. This is like a first season. We have an arc of possibly 5. We'll address that. But even if I'm getting a negative reaction to you, that's going to inform us moving forward as a responsible show in representing what everyone's feelings are authentically.
Yeah, and do you get the same response from people on Maui and the same people from the same response from people on Oahu and Kauai? Like, does everyone kind of give you that same? We're all in that same boat, especially if you're in kind of like you said, upcountry. If you're in the rural areas, does everyone have that same kind of vibe, or do you find that there's different perspectives depending on which island checks out your work?
This is true. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different perspectives. I have yet to actually meet someone from Kauai who's actually seen the show. And
wow, okay. Well, I'm going to show it to some Kauaians for you.
See what you did there?
You see?
Good kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, our hope outside of authentic representation is to create local jobs. And after the fires and after the pandemic, we're looking to sort of enrich our local economy and keep the money here. There are, Chris, earlier you had said, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, what kind of like workforce is there? Are there professionals?
Well, let me clarify. Can I clarify that, Rex? There's more to that, right? Because I want to know how those locals take on mainland projects. What's their attitude towards it? Sure. So they might come in to be a jobs program for those people, but they're coming with maybe mainland above the line. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then can you finish there? Or do you have to go in Maui specifically? Or do you have to go to a different island, or do you have to go back to the stateside to do your post? Because if I want to shoot a movie in Hawaii, I want to know what are the benefits of doing that outside of the beautiful beaches? Like, what is your tax rebate? What is the jobs program? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to take a stab, and I should know this. I believe the tax credit on Maui specifically might be like 35%. And over on Oahu,
seriously?
It's a little less. It's a little less over on Oahu. Now, no one does when you shoot a television show or when you shoot a movie here and it comes from Hollywood, it goes right back to Hollywood for post. Yeah. No, you come here for the location. Mm-hmm. You I'll give you the any of the Adam Sandler movies that came 50
First Dates, etc. Yeah,
that came over here, right? All of those were these were all projects that originated in Hollywood, and then they came over. They shot something here, like on Maui, but they shoot a lot of stuff over on Kauai and also over on Oahu. All the above the line kind of come there because the director is, he's responsible for delivering that with his boys. So when they come, they can hire, they can hire grips, they can hire, PAs and, script supervisors and all these secondary sort of like folks, from Hawaii. But, nobody is doing post, here. We did post here, but,
okay, so somebody is. Okay. Yeah.
But I'll give you.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I'll give you a great example. During the pandemic, White Lotus, first season of White Lotus, shot over at the Four Seasons. Mike White brought that. He hired a grip house that's here on Maui, Paul Eamon Productions. Paul has every single light that you can think of. He's worked on some of the biggest shows in the world. Yeah. And they brought him on, they brought all of his crew on, and they rented all of his lights to put that together. Outside of that, they also brought in one of the top location managers in the game today, Glenn Beatles, who I've been fortunate to also work side by side with and learn an extremely amount of important information from working with Glenn. He's awesome. So there are a lot of talented people that are here on island on Maui and also like on Oahu. It's not thriving now, but it's not thriving anywhere now because all of these studios are going overseas to save money. After the strikes, they were just like, okay, good. We're going to pay you like whatever. But, streaming is just killing regular television and movies right now. And everything's a remake.
I've got a friend who's shooting a feature that features Inuit people in Alaska, and their investors said, we got to shoot this in Ontario. You better figure out how to make Ontario look like Alaska. Because you can't afford it. And then you want to do things in LA. You would love to shoot there. The permits are too expensive. You have to pay like $900 a day per location or per permit. Actually, it's so I just don't know. that kind of information, that understanding comes at the worst time when you're trying to rebuild an area and revitalize and bring people in. I don't know if you have any choice. London just is given 53% rebate to independent filmmakers right now.
And those fires.
How could you not shoot there?
Yeah, those fires didn't help matters either.
Yeah, and an independent film. Just to say, there are a lot of people who really believe, well, this is my art. I'm going to hold to my guns. This is my freaking story, whatever. Ever. It's like if you have investors and producers that are believing in your story, and they tell you the only way we can afford to do this where it's profitable. The movie business is about making a lot of money. Okay. And they tell you we're shooting in London because we get 53% back and you need to rewrite your story so it fits that area, then you need to rewrite your story. Otherwise, you just completely are fumbling your chance.
True.
Be flexible and you're creative and understand the macro financial situation in film.
Sure.
There's a lot of filmmakers that would just completely disagree with what I just said.
One of the things, Chris, I'll add to that is one of the things studios and investors need to remember, though, is that a great film, a great indie project, a great television show is not an algorithm. If you don't have, and that's who's running everything now. Guys who are going to tell you that if the show doesn't become a viral hit after the third episode, it's useless. That's not true. Seinfeld never would have been what it became had it not had 3 or 4 seasons for you to actually care about those characters.
Season 1 was brutal.
And
I love Seinfeld. It was brutal. It's like so hollow is what it was in season 1. And then they kind of figured it out along the way, but you're so right. And really it's Netflix has no obligation. They have a machine that's rolling. The other streamers are envious of that. So they copy that model because they're making money. They're making a lot of money at Netflix, and so, okay, 2 seasons didn't do what it's supposed to do. Bye.
That's just because there's so much content. That's the race is to make sure that people are staying with you. So if you have something that's not so great, you risk them leaving you because they know they can get something better somewhere else. That was the difference with shows when we were kids, is that you didn't really have any other place to turn, right? And you'd give them a chance because 1, you didn't have a choice, but 2, they also let it breathe. They thought about them as kind of living, breathing organisms, right? After a while, they would figure all that stuff out because you had the writers, you had everybody. They became families that understood what they wanted to create. And like you said, Brad, early, they knew they had something. It just wasn't the perfect something.
Right.
That's all.
And you have to allow actors to live and breathe the character. I mean, Jason Alexander's character didn't become a break. George didn't become George until, like you say, like the 3rd or the 4th season. And Kramer, I mean, like you say, Chris, look at the first season and then look at the 8th season. He came into that, and then they began to write towards that. Again, it's about not being just an algorithm. It's a process. It's a living, growing thing. You have to water a seed for it to grow. It's the same with these television shows and films.
Nick talked about nostalgia. Go back and watch the first season of Saved by the Bell.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Zach wasn't even the main character. There was a dude that was like a AC Slater stand-in for a season because Mario Lopez wasn't on the show yet, and they were in middle school. And the show was supposed to be about that blonde English teacher and her students. And then they realized, oh, wait a second. We are missing the boat here. People are interested in Zach. They're interested in the kids, not the teacher. And the only person that made it to season 2 was Mr. Belding. The only character, Mr. Belding, made it. Yeah. Everybody else got left behind. It was supposed to be about that teacher. And they shifted and moved it. So anyway, it reminds me of this story of this, the last great oil man, Papa Bear. Tell me if I'm wrong about this, but his name is, I think, Lionel Ness. And he got into the business because he used to watch his father work with clients, and they weren't in the oil business. But every time his dad would close a deal, Brad, he would take him out to drinks to celebrate. Okay. You know what? No. This isn't. No, not Ness. This was Siegel. Sorry. The Seagrams aired PB. Give me that name of that person. He would watch his dad close a deal, not in the liquor business, in a different business, and watch him take his clients out to drinks to celebrate. And he said, the only person making money here is the person selling my dad and his friends all this liquor. And that's how he started Seagrams. That's how he got into the business that ended up changing his entire family legacy, became a billionaire off of it, watching his father make this mistake where he'd sell something and have this much margin and then blow it all on drinks with the client to celebrate this big win he saw with the price. So sometimes you need that time to see what is the audience actually attracted to. And now can we get to season 3 and actually have the biggest show that we could possibly have? And I think also it changes the storytelling where all the things are pushed to the front because you might not get a second or third season. Sam.
Well, I think part of that is because of how long it takes to produce a season now. You know, back then you had yearly seasons. These shows would like clockwork, right? It's rotation. So
you're talking about, especially if it's a drama, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So like, Breaking Bad, there's a new season every year, right? Or it was split in half to where it was, you always had that on the horizon. Now it takes 3 years to get another season of Stranger Things. So
yeah,
the audience, if it's a lesser show on Netflix,
long. 3 years is crazy.
Exactly, and they don't care.
White Lotus took 2 years.
Exactly, and those are examples of ones that work, that people care about. But there's so many examples of these shows that take so long to get another season and costs a lot, and then Netflix looks at it, and it may have been a success had it come out the next year, but it's just not enough to carry it 3 more years down the line. So
it's a great point. Sam, we should stay with you so you can break us off some audience polls.
All right.
We're getting into the audience polls late, but the conversation was too good. I couldn't. This is good for, like, if you're a filmmaker listening to what Brad's saying, I mean, it's gold. So anyway, Sam, break us off some audience polls, sir.
Let's go.
We'll do. Well, Brad, you were talking about your work on the island and making some projects there, but we do have a poll about Hollywood coming there and how they reflect Hawaiian culture. So, which movie best reflects aspects of Hawaiian culture? Number 1, pretty unsurprising, kind of the most popular one, with a live action remake this year, Lilo and Stitch, 72%.
Well, we got to see what we're comparing it to now, right? That's what's important as well.
Let's go. I guess so, Nick. So, Nick.
Which, by the way, I did research for this. Okay, these were the most popular answers for Hawaiian culture. I promise. I did my due diligence on this one. All right.
Promises made, 2, promises kept.
Yeah.
51st Dates, 24%.
Oh, sure.
Sure. Number 3, Soul Surfer, 3%. And then, surprisingly, and this was the one that had the highest Google return, websites all agreed, The Descendants, 0%, despite being what is widely regarded as one of the more accurate depictions. So what do we think?
I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave this to Nick and Brad because you guys are the closest thing to Hawaiians here. What do we think?
You let the Popolos answer.
And Sam, you're saying of the list of those, which one is the most authentic?
And he gave it to you in that order. So it was Lilo and Stitch won by a huge margin.
How can a cartoon win, Nick?
Well, I'll tell you. It's because of the language used by the characters. That's it is. Because the thing is, Descendants, I think it was there, right? It was in Hawaii. It was about some things that happened in Hawaii, but who were the above the line characters, right? What did they sound like? What were they doing? And everything about Lilo and Stitch was supposed to show you Hawaiian culture. You're supposed to show you Hawaiians with their thick legs, right? You're showing you muumuus and you're showing you, look at the the movie, and you see how they depict the characters versus what you see in other Disney movies. Everybody's thin, right? Everybody's like a Barbie character.
Whereas when you watch Lilo and Stitch, on thick thighs.
Yeah, but when you watch that, it's like, oh, okay, you got some different characters going on. You got different language happening. Yeah. So of those, I would probably agree that was the most authentic of the ones that he chose. Okay. But like,
Brad, what do you say?
Soul Surfer?
Respectfully, I'm going to add 2 names of things that should be there.
Yeah, see, that's what I knew he was going to do.
Because none of those, local people, you guys, I would love you guys to check out an indie production that did very well that went to the mainland that you wouldn't have heard of called Wind in the Reckoning.
Wind in the Reckoning.
That is authentic, and it speaks of the true yet ugly situations that happen to Hawaii having to do with colonization.
Yeah.
That's respected out here. 51st States.
Great title, too.
Oh, my God. I mean, somebody
Rob Schneider.
Blackface.
Rob Schneider.
When you take a white guy and you try to make him local.
Yeah.
No. That didn't hit out here. That's literally,
and I like Rob, but yeah, that wasn't it.
Best friend to a black house party, and then he runs around trying to talk jive.
That's what Rob Schneider did.
He did.
But the thing is that it might not hit in Hawaii, but it hits other places because you know what he's doing. You know he's not authentically Hawaiian. You know he's not even trying to be authentic. It's like Pink Panther.
Sure.
That's one of my favorite when Steve Martin is like, Ambergale. Ambergale. Like you can't, but it's a joke, right? It's a caricature of it.
That's heavy satire, though.
Exactly. That's my point.
And one of the points that I want to make, these are, for the most part, films and storylines that are created in the mainland about Hawaii. One of the things that made Roots what it was because that was written by somebody from the culture about what happened to us. So I'm all for people from the mainland watching Lilo and Stitch, but please, dive into the culture, read something else about what happened to Hawaiian people. I'm not picking any of those.
But that's look. I hear you. You talk about read what happened to people and watch stuff that happened to people. That stuff is depressing, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have that list of movies that he just mentioned, is because those are the most positive things that people think about when they think about Hawaii. Because I think about, how do you feel about The Rock being the king in this upcoming movie? How do you feel about him taking on the role? I don't know how I feel about it. I'm like,
the Rock, I have nothing negative to say about the Rock. What I would love to do is for you guys to have Kavika on and let him talk. Okay. Kavika, in my opinion, is sort of like the Hawaiian version of Spike Lee.
Okay.
That's big, man. That's huge. That's not a small thing to say.
A great conversation about that yet, and still, but again, one of the things sort of about Moku Moku that we took to heart was that it is a story that is written from someone's experience of having been in the mainland and then also coming here. And am I Hawaiian enough? Not a lot of people over in the mainland really understand or really know that, Alelo was against the law for them to speak their own language here for a while. That's the same thing that happened to black and brown people over in the mainland. But, that's not going to end up in Lilo and Stitch. That's not going to end up in 51st States. And, again, back to sort of like what I said, before. it unfortunately becomes sort of like this undercurrent of the stereotype of what exists. And then when you hire a white actor and you're going to make him local, who cares how well it did over on the mainland? Here, the people just didn't bite on that. That's
I'd see that 100%, and I think that's how we felt about Blackish. It's like that must have been written in Poland.
Yeah. Well, I
a lot of pierogies in that.
I do love Anthony Anderson. I love the cast. I love everybody in it.
Of course, they're all great.
No shade or hate there. It just wasn't for me. Okay, what's the next poll, Sam?
Next poll.
So this is actually a new setup. We haven't done this one before. So, usually it's pick which one is the best, right? So you're voting on which one's the best. This one is pick one, ditch the rest. Okay?
So pitch one, ditch the rest.
Pick one. So you're just picking one. So it's only one. And so
I like this.
50% of people. So let me set it up.
Okay, yeah.
Earlier, we were discussing your backstory in photography, Brad.
Yep.
And you had a bunch of opportunities to work for some very, very large publications, right? So on this list, we have 3 different publications. And so the audience had to pick one, ditch the rest, right?
Sure.
So 50% chose Vogue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
38%, I think this is surprising, chose Harper's Bazaar.
Oh, sure.
Mm-hmm. And last, third place, GQ, 13%.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about that? Those rankings? How would you re-rank them, Brad?
Well, no, you know what, Sam? They need to give you a raise because you're pretty much right on with that. Vogue is the reigning champion as far as editorial, and I mean, it is the Bible. Anna Wintour is currently sort of like the editor-in-chief and has reigned over that publication for years. And it's a fashion juggernaut. I mean, if you really want to, if you're in the business of fashion, you definitely want to be on those pages. Harper's Bazaar, definitely. You guys won't know this, but there was a fantastic editor-in-chief that used to be on staff at Harper's Bazaar named Liz Tilberius. And just some of the editorials and the stories that they would shoot in the fashion pages where, they would send a crew out to Paris and they'd shoot, 17 pages of an editorial. Some of the most beautiful, images you've ever seen in your lives. All of those stories are
live on DAZN Worldwide, May 2nd and 3rd, Garcia versus Romero and Canelo versus Skull. Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern, Garcia returns in a history-making Times Square takeover. 24 hours later, Saturday from 7 p.m. Eastern, King Canelo faces undefeated Skull for the undisputed crown. May 2nd and 3rd, a knockout weekend of boxing. Pick one or go all in for only $90, exclusively on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Are put into motion by the editors-in-chief. And Vogue and Harper's Bazaar went back and forth for years between, I would say, sort of like 87 all the way through maybe like 90, I'll say like 98 into 2000.
Okay.
And then GQ on the tail end of that. I mean, GQ is sort of like the male version of Vogue. So,
Vogue.
Well done.
And GQ's changed over the years. They've become a little bit homogenized and a little bit commercial, maybe a lot of bit commercial. But if you go back and see some of those archive copies of GQ from the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, it was really fashion forward and
you're very right. And two, the fashion industry changed at a certain point because the magazines needed to sell more. So what they started to do is they're just like, hey, Nick, we hear you're going to be like in like the next, you're going to be playing Captain America, like in the upcoming thing. So
that tracks.
GQ will do a cover spread on him, and then Denzel Washington is coming out with Equalizer 2, so he gets a spread. So it becomes a vehicle in which to sell television shows, to sell movies, and to promote them.
Yeah, you open a GQ today, you'll see some ads for J. Crew, you'll see some Gap stuff, and it's not that those places are bad, it's just changed it. It's a little different. It's kind of like what happened to Playboy once they came out of the 70s. So in 50s, 60s, 70s, or I should say really late 50s, 60s, 70s, Playboy, it wasn't gauche to have it. And then 80s came around, and it really became, maybe it was the inclusion of Hustler, but it became a little bit bad taste and gauche to like have these type of and to pretend that you were reading the articles or whatever.
The articles are good, man.
The articles actually were good, and the photography was top notch and all that stuff. So anyway, Sam, thank you for your audience polls, and Brad thinks you deserve a raise, and I'm going to say congratulations to you.
Oh my God!
Congratulations, Sam, on your research, and you're doing such a good job.
You're going to do well in this business, Sam. I see you doing big things, Sam. For you,
absolutely.
Change his name there. Instantly. Big Sam, I think that's for you.
If we changed your name from Intern Sam, what did you want to do? You want to be Big Sam, or do you want to be something else? What would you? There's a ring to Intern Sam that I like. So even when you're not interning anymore, I still like that your name's Intern Sam. Is that weird? Or?
I mean, I think it rolls off the tongue. Yep. Big Sam. I don't know. It's interesting.
You just got to look at what's on the bathroom walls, bro. It says Belmont Baddie.
Belmont Baddie. There you go. Yeah. Big Sam sandwich.
The big sandwich. Yeah.
One of the things I was a huge fan of during the Kaya interview was when you guys would do the Bane voice. Nick, this is one of those times where I would love, I think that Sam's name should be changed.
Right.
He's been effectively initiated. Sam, what do you have to say?
We should have a Bane off. Okay, Nick, it's your turn. Okay, that was Brad's. All right,
no, because I always got to do the thing where you got to cover up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Of course, Sam. We would love for you to change your name, but if you change it, it must be something majestic. It cannot be something simple, ordinary. We're not ordinary people here on the Make It podcast. We're extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. So, Sam, make your name heard from the hilltops and the mountains so everyone can hear and proclaim your name.
Sir Sam.
Well done, sir. Well done, sir. I thought that was great. Okay, we got to stop and pay some bills. All right, let's do this. Let's pay some bills. Nick, we're talking about, now it's crazy because Brad just brought up Alex Haley, who wrote Roots, and we happen to be pretty cool with his nephew, Chris Haley, who is a documentarian and also an author. He has a new book out called Book of Poetry, When Did I Know I Was Black? It's on Amazon now. Nick, can you say a couple words about this?
Yeah, I actually just want to, we always celebrate folks who do great things on this podcast. And yes, he's a former guest. He's a friend of the podcast, friend of the family. And he's got actually a couple of books out. So we would love to shout those out as well. But yes, the new book that's out. And what I'll do is to make sure that I give it the best service possible. I'm actually going to read the description of the book because having read this actually, a couple of times for different reasons, like it says everything there that I would want to say about it. So here we go. So this is a powerful collection of poems that explore the complexities of race, identity, and the enduring legacy of slavery in America. Through his evocative language and personal narratives, Haley delves into the challenges faced by Black individuals, from the subtle biases of everyday life to the systemic injustices that continue to plague society. Characterized by its raw honesty, emotional intensity, and vivid imagery, the poems are often direct and unfiltered, capturing the nuances of lived experience in a powerful and engaging way. He skillfully employs various poetic techniques, including metaphor, simile, and alliteration, to enhance the impact of his message. Through his powerful words, he invites readers to reflect on their own understanding of race, identity, and the ongoing struggle for justice.
There you go.
It's all right there, guys.
Yep.
It's amazing. So check it out, of course, on bookshop.org, and we'll make sure that we have links to that everywhere that you need to have a link so that you can get it yourself.
And what's the name of it again?
You can go to Amazon, Papa Bear, but we'd like you to go to bookshop.org and go to our listing. So Chris and Nick's all-time favorite books. You'll find When Did I Know I Was Black by Chris Haley, new book of poetry at bookshop.org. Black owned, by the way. Female owned, by the way. Go to Bookshop. Hey, everybody. I'm excited to share today's sponsor with you. It's Insta360, the leader in 360-degree camera tech. They've just dropped their latest flagship, the Insta360 X5. And let me tell you, this camera is a game changer for creators, adventurers, or anyone who loves capturing life's moments. They maybe even make a podcast. We use the old Insta360 cameras, right? And we're really excited about this new one. It's pretty great. It shoots stunning 8K 360-degree video, so you're capturing every angle in incredible detail, day or night, thanks to its larger sensors and amazing low light performance. One of my favorite features is the invisible selfie stick. So this is a selfie stick that when you use it, it disappears. So it gives your footage this look of like shooting from a drone, right? This sort of jaw-dropping third-person shot that looks like you have like a really expensive 8K drone flying above. You can do that with this invisible selfie stick. So that's great for action shots or epic travel vlogs. I just did a travel video. Let me tell you, I know all about this. Plus, with 360-degree video, you can shoot first and point later. So here's how it works. You just record everything, right? And then you pick your best angles in the 360 Insta360 app. And with the AI-powered reframing tools, you can just get sort of the shot you want, or what we call in filmmaking punching in, if you wanted to punch in on the angle that you like. It's so easy to get the exact shot you want, right, every time. So here's the kicker. The X5 is built tough with replaceable lenses. Now, this is a first for this industry and that I know of. Maybe it's not, but most of the time you get like a miniature camera from places like you cannot replace the lenses. With this one, you can replace the lenses. It's got a huge 2400 milliamp battery, and it lasts up to 185 minutes. So you can just keep shooting without worry.
That's awesome, dude. So, I have to say, you mentioned it earlier, the fact that we use, you said the older Insta360. Yeah. And we love the Insta360. And that's why we're talking about it today, because they continue to iterate. That's the thing. There's a lot of different Insta360s today. We're talking about the X5 because it's super awesome and it just dropped. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about it because we are Insta360 users, have been for a long time. We support it, and check it. If you love the Make It podcast, you love what we do, you love this crisp and clean aesthetic that we bring to you, then we're here to let you know that it's brought to you by Insta360. So this is just the next iteration in creation.
That's right. That's right. So look, we've sold you hard on this, right? You're going to get one, right? Like obviously you want to test it out. Okay. If you're film nerds, camera nerds like we are, here's an exclusive deal. You go to store.insta360.com, use our promo code, make it. You see it on the shirt, right? Really easy. MAKEIT. That's the promo code. And when you do that and use our promo code, you can get a free invisible selfie stick. So the thing I was telling you about earlier, you can get that for free. But here's the deal. They're only giving this away to the first 30 buyers. So don't wait. Just check the links in our show notes for more details. And you can just get creating right away. Again, it's store.insta360.com. First 30 buyers get a free invisible selfie stick when they get the standard X5 package. Be sure to use the promo code Make It. And Nick, let's go back to the show.
Let's do it.
Shop.org, pick up that book, and you will not regret it. A couple of pieces of housekeeping before we hop back in with some things we should know. Yes, Relativity Studio went bankrupt in 2015. They reemerged in 16 and then filed for bankruptcy again in 2018. Shout out to Sam for that research. And they did They did a film called Free Birds, and that is likely what sent them to bankruptcy, apparently. And then
pretty terrible. Yeah.
And then the Seagrams family. The Seagrams is owned by the Brofman family. And thank you for that research, Papa Bear there. So just a little bit of housekeeping there for some subjects we brought up a moment ago. One of the Brofman daughters was caught up in that Nexium thing in New York. That was like the cult. That was who was that guy? God, I'm forgetting his name. It's on the tip of my tongue.
In California?
Nexium.
Well, it went from California to New York, and Ranieri. It was, his last name was Ranieri, the guy who orchestrated the whole thing. And he had like a hierarchical system cult built up. And one of the Brofman sisters were at the top of the hierarchy. And basically it was a system of control based on self-improvement. And you had Hollywood actors in this, which is the only reason why it's relevant to this podcast. And it was pretty incredible. Ranieri, I think, went to jail for life for that. Okay, Papa Bear, that was the things we should know. You're about to give us a things we should know. By the way, you look like a John Lennon conspiracy theory photo right now. I like that. He is alive, and he's right in front of us.
And he's well, yes.
And he's well. On Hawaii, as we see in the background. Nice background there. Okay, can you drop us a things we should know? We're ready.
I can. You can't avoid a thing we should know that doesn't include filmmaking in Hawaii.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have two. And the twist for this time is that you're going to get to choose which one you want to answer. I know sometimes it's hard. We pick something historical and it's way back when, and you got to think of a date and, but you're going to have a choice now. So
we're all about choice in America.
Yeah. The first one, the librarian's choice, would be what was the first movie shot in Hawaii and in what year? Or
first, I'm going to write this down. Okay, go ahead.
Or do you want what Oscar-winning actor not only made 5 films in Hawaii, but also married his third and final wife there following one of his shoots?
Brad, what do you got? Which one do you want to answer?
I'll take a stab at the second one.
Okay, that means we're tied to that destiny, that fate.
Or you could do both.
The second one with you. Yeah. This Brioche.
All right, so read the second one again while people are
thinking. The second one.
Yep, we're going to reread that.
Oscar-winning actor not only made 5 films in Hawaii, but also married his third and final wife there following one of his shoots.
Final is interesting. That word, that wording. Final.
In other words, he didn't have 4 wives. He stopped at 3.
Or he died. Or he died early. Maybe that's a clue.
And we can just all kind of, we're all just going to chime in.
We're all going to. Yeah, everybody's going to take a stab at it.
Sam, do you got anything? Brad, you got anything early?
Feeling like the movie that kind of keeps coming to me, and the actor who I think is the guy. I'm thinking Mutiny on the Bounty, the one with Marlon Brando. That's
Brando is such a good freaking guess. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Marlon Brando. Love it.
Sam, was he married multiple times?
Surely.
Surely. Oh, yeah. The more praise Brando got, the worse he became to work with, as the stories go. And it's funny because I just mentioned this to the team, Brad, like offline, that like revel in the compliment for a couple minutes, but don't let it be your calories. And I think Brando did that figuratively and literally. Okay, Nick, what do you have as a guest, sir?
I'm stuck, man. I'm like, who married multiple times?
Everybody.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm at. I'm stuck. I'm like, I just don't even know, man. And then I can't even think about time frame. And then you said, so how many movies did he do there?
Five.
And he's an actor, so he was in.
Oh, I have a question, DB. Was he only an actor?
And he was an Oscar winner as well.
But was he in all these movies? Did he direct any of them? I think that's what Chris is getting at.
No, he was an actor in all these movies.
Okay.
I got one.
Okay, Sam, what do you got? Did you look it up? Did you?
No, I didn't look it up.
Okay.
I didn't look it up, and it'll become apparent that I didn't look it up because I actually have no idea if any of his movies. I'm just thinking of someone that has a lot of movies, has an Oscar, and has definitely been married a few times. I'm going to go with Al Pacino.
Okay. Hoo-ha. That's
I'm in the dark.
That was cliche for me to do that, by the
I can always count on you.
That's right.
Do one from Heat because you got great ass. You got your head all the way up it.
It's like, calm
bring
down,
it down. Like I can see. Let's try another take. Just kind of bring it down.
Yeah, you gotta calm down.
Well done, Brad. Well done.
No, what did Jamie Foxx say about him, about Al Pacino? He said he got a juicy mouth. He's always spitting every time he talks, just spitting all over the place.
That's really good insight. See, on the Make It podcast, that's the only place you'll find out about Al Pacino's juicy mouth.
That's right. That's right.
Shout out to Al Pacino. Just had a kid a few years ago.
I have no clue.
Honestly, he's still making it happen. Him and Stevie Wonder are in a arms race to see who can have the most kids over 80. And so, shout out to Stevie as well. Anyway, you've got Marlon Brando, Brad. Sam's got Al Pacino. Nick, you're conceding?
I'm just stuck, man. I'm like, fine. Freaking Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner, that's a good guess. He started off in adult films. That makes sense. And then, so we've got Costner, we've got Pacino, we've got Brando. I'm going to go with a crazy outlier. And I'm going to say, Robert Duvall.
Okay.
Robert De Niro wouldn't have been a bad shout, but
I was thinking about that one from because of who you guys picked.
He's been married a few times, right?
No, because they picked freaking gangsters. So I was going to go.
He's married to his sister for a long time. He still might be, right? De Niro?
Not married to his.
He just had a kid.
No, not his sister. A sister.
Oh yeah, he was. He was.
Yeah. He's married to his sister for a little bit, and I just saw a photo of Joe Burrow out with a fine black woman. It's a going thing. You started it, Papa Bear. Okay, so don't forget.
Not quite sure.
You started the trend. Okay, those are our guesses, Papa Bear. Tell us how wrong we are.
Okay,
or right we are.
Could be. Marion Robert Morrison.
Jesus Christ. We were never going to get that. What's the name again?
Why are you playing games with us? Like, what are you even doing here? Like, I shouldn't know that.
Marion Robert Morrison earned a Presidential Medal of Freedom, a Congressional Gold Medal, and a spot on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Also known as Duke, John Wayne won his Oscar for Best Actor in 1969 film True Grit. Hold
on. I thought John Wayne was gay.
Well,
no.
What?
Where'd you get that, Chris?
Not at that time.
Where'd you get that from, bro?
I've read that he was gay.
Oh, wow. No.
All
right.
I'll have to put it in the show notes.
He had 3 wives.
Had 3 wives.
Wow.
And I know that. Yeah, Brad, you should know that.
Yeah. Listen, that I mean, my business mentor, when I met him, was married to a woman, and it was gay, very gay, the whole time. So I'm just saying, it's not like out of the question. You guys are looking at me like, how could it be? He had three wives.
We've never heard it.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
I've never heard that.
It can be.
We're not saying it can't be. We just never heard of it.
Sure.
Nope. That's the story.
And his real name is Marion Robert Morse. I didn't know. Yeah. Hey, for all you John Wayne fans out there, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'm saying what I heard. I don't want anybody to get upset with me. If he wasn't,
but if you are upset, let us know.
I don't care. Like I'm like the least judgmental person ever. I've got no room to judge anybody or.
You were just asking.
I'm just asking the question.
He was significantly older than her when he married her. Her name was Pilar Paulette, and she was Peruvian. The three P's: Pilar Paulette. Peruvian,
the Peruvian Pilar Flip.
Flight attendant, then actress and painter. So
probably in that order.
And guess what?
All right, well,
probably in that order. I met you on a flight. I made you into a painter, and I got you into a movie.
Well, she's significant on her own now. Still living. John Wayne died in 1979, stomach cancer. She's 96.
I was right about John Wayne.
And she has a restaurant in L.A.
Shout out to Pilar. We want to come to your restaurant. We need to know the name of it. And I was just joking about the order of your career. You probably did that all on your own. We want to come to your restaurant.
Hey, look,
please
I'm taking it. I'm taking it back.
Please don't poppy us.
Brad, that's a thing you should know.
Brad, that is a thing you should know.
Yeah, John Wayne.
The next time you are in a bar in Maui and you are in a conversation, you need to break the ice, Papa Bear just gifted you a thing you should know.
Yep.
I'll give that a shot and I'll get back to you and let you know how that goes.
Yeah, let us know how it works out.
You guys have
we would love for you to Brad. Film that. We would love for you to do the 2025 thing and be filming that as it happens.
Whatever. They're going to be like, no, I didn't know that.
The clip
Brad.
To promote this podcast.
Right.
How many of
Thanks for being so smart, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
The Bane voice would go over bigger if I asked that question.
Yeah.
What any of you know about John Wayne?
Right.
I have this great idea for us to do like a Bane thing where Bane is playing pickup basketball with like three brothers in the hood. But the problem is when Bane gets fouled, he rips the skull off of the playing, and then the brothers get mad because they're running out of basketball courts to go to. Bane, see, but you can't kill him because that was, you don't seem to understand. He stepped on my new sneakers.
I
think that's got legs, guys.
He's got legs.
I like it.
Yeah.
There's a little truth in it too. I used to hoop with dudes who just came to the park to fight.
Yeah.
I was like, did you come to play basketball? No, actually, I just came to fight it. That's play one, fouling, talking shit. Like, we're not playing basketball today. I see. I got it. I stopped going to those parks. There's a certain age you just gotta.
Yep, smart guy.
You gotta find some dads and get the cardio in. Anyway, Papa Bear, thank you so much. What a blessing. That was definitely a thing we should know. Nick, can you pop off some filmmaker Q&A for us, sir?
Yeah, I will, because I actually have one. My first question actually has multiple parts, and I'm hoping that Brad will be able to answer these questions for our audience here. You ready for this?
Let's go.
Number one, name a professional football player who in his senior year in high school rushed for 970 yards and scored 7 touchdowns.
O.J. Simpson.
No.
Damn.
Name a professional football player who, while playing for the New York Jets, caught a field goal attempt that came up short and returned it for 97 yards.
Marshall the Bull Starks, my father. Thank you, guys. That's
and just so you know, gentlemen, that was the answer to the first question as well. In his senior year in high school, he rushed for 970 yards and scored 7 touchdowns.
The only person who could have told me that would have been my mother, and she doesn't even know that, brother. So thank you. Oh, my God.
Yeah, well, and I've got one last one. Name a professional football player who was the starting safety for the 1971 Central States Football League champions.
That's my dad.
You've got it. There you go. And check this out, Brad. I don't know if there's any significance to the number 97. I honestly don't. But listen to this again. In his senior year in high school, he rushed for 970 yards. While playing for the New York Jets, caught a field goal attempt that came up short and returned it 97 yards. Was the starting safety for the 1971 1971 Central States Football League champions.
Boy. Man,
followed him around.
I don't know if that
chocolate melts, guys. I'm sorry. The Clemps over here.
Yeah, man. Your father.
I'll share something really quick because this is just a great conversation. And again, guys, I can't thank you enough for having me on the show. I'm a huge fan, and I mean, man,
thank you.
Those are just that's crazy. I think I told you guys sort of like early on, we didn't grow up with like a lot of money and that kind of like thing. And a lot of kids come up in like the Pop Warner kind of like system of football. Yeah, I didn't have that. My father was the coach, and the first sort of like game of organized football, I was too young to sort of be on the team, but my father was the head coach and he used to play for the Jets. So of course, and I was the quarterback. I had no idea what I was doing. I had all of my father's natural ability already, and I grew up in the same house as my father. So my understanding of the game, by the time I got to high school, I had the benefit of sitting next to my dad watching every single game, and he would call the play as it would happen. So I had that. But it wasn't until I got into high school and they asked me, what was the last position you played in organized football? I was just like, quarterback. And I didn't finish the sentence because my dad was the coach. And they were like, oh, okay. Absolutely, positively one of the worst experiences in my life because it's like boot camp. And you don't know and just all the verbal abuse. And, back in those days, they wouldn't hydrate us during double sessions, toughens up the boys, give them salt tablets or like whatever, right? So, kids dying of like heat.
Give them Tide Pods.
Anyway, right? But, so then I get put on the B team, and then the coaches actually sit me down. Now, Starks, what's going on? Like, what's going on with you? I explain to them the whole thing, and they're just like, oh, well, no wonder. First game, we're getting beat. I'm at the controls playing quarterback. I'll never forget it. We were down by like 4 touchdowns or something. Play comes in. It's a rollout pass. There's maybe a minute and a half left. Mm-hmm. I roll out. My receiver like tripped over a shoelace or something like that.
Bad news bears.
I see daylight, and I'm like, you know what? Let me see what I can do. And I run it back untouched for 67 yards, maybe. It gets called back because of clipping on us.
Oh, no.
We run the same play the other way. Again, my wide receiver's nowhere to be seen. I run it back. It gets called back again. I did that 4 times. Ooh. And I remember, and my dad I could always hear his voice on like the sidelines. I stopped hearing his voice then. We went through sort of like the rest of the game. We actually won the game.
Wow. After being down by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. I come home. My dad's car is parked. I come in. I don't see him. The television is left on in the living room. Never forget that. Television is left on in the living room. There's a cigarette that's just sitting in the ashtray that's still burning. And as soon as I shut the door, I hear my father's voice from my bedroom. Bradley. Oh, God. He used my full name. I got to be in trouble. What did I do? Brad, come in here. Go in. He's sitting on my bed, right? And he's just like, sit down. And in my room at that time, I told you guys, I wanted to be a fashion photographer so bad. I had Harper's Bazaar, GQ, Vogue, Italian Vogue, all over my wall. I lived in like this meditation of that, right? And he sat down and he just sort of sat there and he was just like, son, he was just like, he goes, I got to tell you. He goes, when I was your age, I never could have done that. What I saw you do today, Bradley, I could have never done that. I could have never done that. And I look around your room, and I see that this is something that you really want to do. And I don't understand it. But you know what, son? I'm with you 100%. If this is what you want to do, I'm with you 100%. Now, that being said, when you get to your senior year, I'm going to push you really hard to play because you're a freshman now. And like I say, son, I could never do that. So I'll help you do whatever it is that you want to do in life. And he was true to that. And just to hear those stats, Nick, that just really takes me back. My dad was quite a guy. And one of the biggest gift my dad gave to me was he believed in me.
Amen.
And that is something that is so special for creatives or for freelancers like us, because you go out in the big world, and you don't know. But my dad always told me, he was just like, son, you're going to get out there. And he goes, when I went to, my father got picked up and played for the Jets. He went to an open tryout that they had. And out of 1,500 guys, he and like two other guys, stepped away from everybody else. And he said, you're gonna get to Europe, Brad, and you're gonna find out just like I found. You're gonna get out there on the field. There are guys out there that can hold your jock. You are good. Go with that. And Brad, if it doesn't work out, just come back home, and then you're gonna go back out there again. So, guys, thank you so much. That was great. I appreciate that.
Our pleasure, man. Our pleasure. So I've got one more that I'm going to ask, and then we're going to move. We're going to move into some bullet round to make it real quick, right?
Awesome.
All right. So Chris had mentioned something earlier that kind of keys in on this about just the talent that's in Maui, and just thinking about independent creators. And one of the things that I think about is just the fact that we talk about like working actors. But there's a lot of people who work in the industry. And one of the questions that I had is like, where do independent filmmakers find work in the industry? Because I've started to have a different perspective a little bit on like what success is and what making a living is as an independent creator. And it isn't the movie that takes you 2 to 3 years to make. It's all of the stuff that you do in between. So outside of the tropey stuff that we hear about waiting tables, right? How else do independent creatives make a living in the day-to-day?
Good question. I'll take sort of like our situation. I mean, we have a season 2 of Moku Moku ready to go. Our writers have regular meetings every Monday for like about an hour just to tighten up scripts and to sort of reimagine things. Mm-hmm. One of the things that we've done at La Lima is we've decided that if we can't shoot the show, Moku Moku, as it is, we want to do our best to continue to make meaningful content that is great for our state and for the county of Maui, which is why we created La Lima Public Broadcasting and Content. We are aiming to be a leader in public access content creation, a distribution platform for emerging talent in the state, and especially on Maui as well, and also be a key grower of growth with local creatives who are looking to start or further their creative talents in film, television, and content creation. And content creation could also be documentaries. It could be podcasts. We want to champion that kind of thing. With the unique situation that Maui finds itself in on the back end of a pandemic, on the back end of the terrible fires that just completely blasted a hole in our economy, we also find it important to champion a lot of the small businesses. And if there's a bridge in which we can bring the creatives that are here in partnership with small business, we think that there's a synergy there where they can support each other. There's a news media sort of like desert that's kind of like going on here. A lot of our local newspapers are now being taken over by these huge mainland sort of like companies, and we see an opportunity in which we might be able to serve the public that way. But again, we want to serve the local creative culture that's here. We also want to serve small business and champion them and see what it is that we can do to sort of foster each other. For instance, on the tail end of the fire, we've been talking about the only place where you can find, I believe, and I could be wrong, I hope I'm corrected on this, the only way you can find sort of like the new evacuation routes are obscure websites that aren't really sort of talked about, and like the middle of the yellow pages.
Why is that?
Yellow pages since I was like 4 years old, and that was like back in like the 70s or something.
Why is that? That's crazy, Brad.
Yeah, we would love to do public service announcements. Mm-hmm. Children's programming out here doesn't exist. We would love to try to partner, with outlets and nonprofits who specialize. It's a friend of mine. Shout out to Samita and Glenn, who run Low Gravity. They do extensive, great programs with kids. So so we hope to keep ourselves busy with that. And just see what we can do to support our community. On the mainland, as far as sort of like, if you're a behind the scenes person and you're working, if you're a grip or something, I would suggest pivoting into corporate events. Yeah. With the current administration that's taking control, corporations are going to be flush with money, and all of like the big hotels and things like that are going to have tons of events. So that kind of thing, producing and sort of like, camera work and that kind of like thing, that could also be a challenge too. But, it's going to be sort of like a learning process for sure. But yeah, Nick, that's a great question. It's going to change. It'll
well, you've definitely. I think Chris is normally the greatest, segue king, but I think you segued so well into my next question because it's a
culture check. Oh my God.
Thank you, Nick. It's my day, brother.
Oh, God.
So look. This is going to be
my heart damage.
That's right. So the thing about this culture check, again, you segued right into it, so it's going to be really easy. Pants. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Hopefully your pants are brown.
They're green. There
you go. So the thing is, and this is going to be like more of a question. Mm-hmm. And that we can explore, and I want kind of everybody to explore this a little bit, which is what's more important, making culturally significant films or making profitable films? Talk amongst yourselves.
Profitable.
Yeah, both.
Profitable films.
If it's done the right way, perfect example.
Schindler's List was both.
There you go. Schindler's List was both.
Sing Sing from this year was both. I can't say it's profitable or not, but it was culturally impactful.
I don't think it was. I mean, it's getting another shot right now. Wishing it the best for sure. It's one of the best from last year for sure.
Yeah. Last of the Mohicans was.
Okay, boom.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah. Man, I mean, that was
great movie.
That was incredible. I go all the way back. Dustin Hoffman in Little Big Man. Oh my God! I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I haven't seen it,
but man, that was.
TB, have you seen Little Big Man?
Many years ago, yeah.
Yeah, incredible. Oh, All the President's Men. Yeah. All the President's Men.
Yeah, but listen. I'm trying to get you to that place where. Not everybody, right? So let's talk about this. We talked about some great movies with some great actors, great directors, but Hollywood, that's probably 1% of all the film that's made out there. And we're talking to an independent filmmaking audience, right? And we're all independent filmmakers.
Yep.
And the thing that I've heard, and this is why this is so significant, is that when we talk to filmmakers about what success means to them, we often hear similar lines. And the words are often that they want to be able to make a living doing the thing that they love.
Doing the thing they love.
And making a living doesn't have to mean that a film was profitable. It just means that when you participated in that, or you did other things, whether it was corporate events or other things, you got paid and you made a living. So if you're going to make a living doing the thing that you love, do your films actually have to be profitable? And if you're this independent filmmaker and you're making a living, what would be more fulfilling to you at the end of the day? So you're making your living, doing the thing that you love. Which one do you want more? Do you want to make things that are culturally significant? Or would you like to hang your hat on the idea that the films that you were involved in were profitable? Again, it's
role?
Not an answer that you can necessarily...
What's your skill set?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned the tropey thing of like, oh, I wait tables. Well, that's for actors. Right. But if you're a producer, you're not waiting a table. Or if you're a DP, right, you're shooting videos you're shooting music videos, you're shooting commercials, you're doing travel videos. Brad mentioned corporate, you're doing those kind of things, training videos. If you're directing, you're doing kind of the same thing. If you're a producer, you work for some house, some production company, and you're working with Exxon and BP and BMW, and you're making those types of things. If you're an editor, you're waiting for that content to be shot and you're getting fed that all the time. So it really just depends on your role, whether or not, for example, if you're a director, you absolutely have to have a profitable movie.
Well, I don't know that you do. Back to what Brad was saying about documentaries, right? Some of those are not about the profit. Those are funded by people who have a message to send.
Because that market's dried up.
Well, either way, their goal might be to make sure that they're doing something that is culturally significant, right? The goal of the work isn't to make a profit. It might be to celebrate a culture or to, like you said, do something, help with small business.
You're saying
no. I'm just kind of putting it out there and saying, like, what do you think, Brad? Like, from that perspective, I know you want to do both. Everyone wants to do both. Everyone wants to do both.
Ideal. That part is true, Nick. Yes.
Right, but I think it's like, as an independent creative, I often also wonder, like, what's the most, not just the thing that you want, but what is the thing that you have the best chance of getting? And I think that is the thing that you have the best chance of getting, is making a living doing the thing that you love and doing culturally significant work. But Brad, if you're always looking for the thing that's making a bunch of money, you might be sad about it, right?
Nick,
but go ahead, Chris.
Nick, I don't mind your take here. I don't. I think I hear what you're putting down. I actually think it might be harder to make something culturally significant than to make a profit, because one is in your control, at least to some degree, and the other one isn't. You don't get to pick whether you made something culturally significant or not. It's the people who decide whether your stuff is real. And Brad talked about that earlier. You can go watch Win in the Reckoning, or you can go watch 50 First Dates, right? But if you made Win in the Reckoning and you missed the mark on accident, then you're just a forgotten movie that didn't make any money. And trust me, there's 100 Win in the Reckonings that weren't Win in the Reckoning.
Oh, like when they started, you mean?
Yeah, they started to try to make that impact. They missed the mark. They weren't watched. There's just one.
Sure.
Right? Like so, and you can point to, and Sam, I see you thinking about something, but there's 1,000 films like that you can mention where it's like that one was culturally relevant and that one sort of was trying to be and didn't make it. But profit, that's a matter of development work and pre-production work and making a great film.
Yeah. This conversation sort of reminds me of how I heard Alec Baldwin discuss what it's like to be brought onto a project with lofty ambitions, and then really like what happens where he begins this conversation by the producer saying, "Hey, Nick, we're building this boat and we're going to go to Fiji. You're going to be the lead actor of this project that we're going to make in Fiji. do you want to go to Fiji with us? Come with us. And then you're just like, yeah, we're all going to go to Fiji. And then you get on that boat and you wake up and you look around and you're just like, are those tin cans in the water? And then you look at the producer, the studio head, and he's got on grungy clothes. It's like, yeah, well, Nick, some things have changed. We're not going to Fiji. We're going to Staten Island. And it changes. And I mean, these things can sort of happen. You can have sort of like these projects that start out with a lofty idea, but then how do you carry that through and sort of like make sure that it ends on its initial
does the thing it's supposed to do.
Yeah. And I would, in sort of hearkening back to sort of like independent people and creatives trying to sort of do it, control what it is that you can control. Don't bite off more than you can chew. You can work with, say, like a small business, and in conversations and connecting with them, just like I was talking about earlier with these photo sessions. If you can pick out sort of like a kernel of what makes them special, it's storytelling. How do you want to tell that? How can you, sometimes if you don't have a huge budget, that's what's really going to make it great. I would point your listeners to check out the filmography of Robert Eggers, the guy that just did Nosferatu.
Love that movie.
Oh my God.
Best horror of the year.
100%. Yeah,
Best horror of the year.
Look into Sam, you're going to have to look up who his cinematographer is. That guy has
probably
been
already
to
knows.
hell and back, and he is incredible. He has stories about being evicted and this, and he stayed true to his art. And look at where they're at now. Man, The Northman, did you guys see The Northman?
I did. I was one of the first people to see The Northman, actually, I believe.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan as well. I mean, Memento was made like on nothing, and like ham sandwiches and bad coffee. So it's possible. It's possible. But you have to be crafty about it. And I mean,
I see what you did there, talking about ham sandwiches and bad coffee, and then saying crafty right after that. Okay, Brad. I underestimated
get back to New York, darling. Catch Deli.
I underestimated your levels here. Yeah, I see.
Nice.
Well, let me stillman it. I'll stillman it for you, Nick, because here I'll give you the other case where it's better, right? So World War Z was incredibly profitable, right? And generally speaking, that was a good movie. Most people I talk to like that movie a lot and wonder why there hasn't been a second one. Well, it turns out there isn't one because there were 20 writers on that movie. Most of them didn't want to be named. Now imagine a movie that has Brad Pitt in it and did that well, and they don't want to be associated with it. And the reason is because in the background, it was a nightmare.
Yeah,
it was, and the people that worked on it were nightmares. And I didn't work on the movie. I'm hearing the secondhand from one of the entertainment lawyers that worked on that movie, and I know one of the producers that worked on that movie. So I've heard two stories now about World War Z specifically about why there wasn't a second one, and that they tried to make a second one, and that it was just kind of a nightmare to work with the people. And that some of these people, not all, but some of them. And so in this case, to your point, Nick, incredibly profitable, but people aren't happy. You see what I mean? Like, you made the money, but it didn't make you happy. It didn't make you feel like you made it.
Right. Didn't hit that part of your spirit.
Hit that part of your spirit.
Great segue.
Yeah.
Yep. That's right. Which, It's again, I never know what PB's going to do. He's going to say something.
He's saying segue to what does it mean to you to make it?
Right. Well, before we get there,
I think Nick's got some. He's got some bullets.
Roll fast.
That was a good culture check, by the way, and we could talk about that. Literally, we could have that as the opening subject, and we could talk for an hour and a half or two on just
for
that.
Sure, for sure. And it's also good to play devil's advocate, play different sides of it.
Yeah.
All right. So, but real quick, we got it for you, Brad. We got poke or musubi.
Oof, man, huge poke. Love it. Foodland and Tamura's out here. I know that there are other places over here that you can find that I'm not aware of, but So good. Pokey.
Yep, he's on it. All right, number 2, Kiali I Rochelle or is Kamaka Viva Ole?
Second one.
Yeah. I knew it. He could jump on that one. All right, here we go. We got Kalua Pig or Chicken Katsu.
Oh, no, I got to. Yeah, man, come on. I got to stay with that hog. I got to represent. What are you doing?
All right, we got L&L or Zippies.
Oh, Zippies. Zippies. That is, I mean, I got
look at it.
L&L. Zippies is the place, boy.
Very good.
Glazed croissant there, guys. I recommend.
Yeah, look at it. He's like top notch. Look at him. All right. Last one is Matsumoto or Aoki's for your shaved
Matsumoto.
ice.
Yeah, Matsumoto.
Very good. Well, thank you for that because my wife worked at Matsumoto Shave Ice.
There you go.
Wow. So if you had said Aoki's, then we would have just stopped this right now.
Hey, Nick, if you'd have told me my father worked there when he was 18 years old.
No, I would have told you he worked there. He was like, no, bruh, right.
That's amazing. Well, you know, we're known for our crack research here. By the way, I might be mispronouncing this, but is it Jaron Blaschke is Robert Edgar's cinematographer? Is that pronounced that right, Sam?
I think so.
I actually also don't know. So
if I butchered your name, my bad. Shout out to you and shout out to your journey and thanks for sticking with it. My connection to Hawaii is simple. I've had some of the best times of my life there, but I also was able to spread my mother's ashes around every island of Hawaii, which was her dying wish because she never made it there in the physical form. And so I loved this conversation. I loved everything you guys just shared. And we have to end like we always end, Brad. What does it mean to make it?
Gosh. Well, and before I go into that, hey, Mom, happy Valentine's Day. It's tomorrow. I love my mother. I love my sister. Strong Black women. Let's support them.
Love it.
What does it mean to make it? I think that one of the things that we as creatives need to do more of is certainly self-promotion is necessary. Preservation, self-preservation, mental health, all of these things are necessary. But it's also just really, really important that we as creatives cultivate more of the soft skill of networking and holding each other up. That makes you so valuable on anything that you may go through life. I mean, the 3 days from now, I could overhear a conversation from a producer who's just like, man, I'm working on this sort of voiceover thing. And I have to book a voice actor of color, and he has to be able to do, of all things, he has to be able to do Bane. Where am I going to find that? Hey, there's this brother I know. His name is Nick, and but you see, you need to be aware of that, and you need to turn that switch on in your creative freelance mind to receive. And we would all, I mean, you talk sort of like about what can other people transition into? My God, if all of us did that for each other, we'd always be working. Or for instance, I mean, if I overhear that somebody is looking for someone to MC an event, and then they also need to sort of like coincide and add that to like a podcast thing. I know this brother named Chris Bartley who is great, but I'm going to tell you that you need to come correct. I'm going to get all of the information. What's the date? How much is the rate? Yeah. You know what? He's got his own thing. That rate might be too low. I want to have your best interests, and I want you to look good as much as I do. So, I think that making it means holding up our colleagues. And people talk about, trying to sort of like find high and mighty people. Expand laterally. Laterally. Learn who your wolf pack is, Kaya. That's for you. Your Ohana. It's the Ohana here. Aloha. That's one of the things. I've been lucky enough to travel around the world. Man, I can actually say that. That's weird. But my parents taught me how to be empathetic. And even if you don't speak the language, that's what aloha is. I didn't learn that until I got here. And I've been everywhere. And, you know, my parents were just like, Brad, always try to make somebody's life just a little bit easier. And that's what I walk with. And it's easy to do that here because you're surrounded by it. The fires here. Let me tell you something about what happened with fires. We were working on Moku Moku that very day, and five or six of, and it had been windy all day. We turned our phones off all day because we were shooting on set. We weren't aware of how bad it was. We lost Lahaina that night. I had to evacuate from where I live because there was also fire in Olinda kind of coming down. But we shut down production that following morning, and we turned our production house into a volunteer center. And we hit the ground running, buying bottles of water, taking it here, dropping it off, and we took care of each other. That's aloha. You know, Chris, if I'm going to ask you, you know, hey, bro, how you doing? You know, I'm really interested in how you are. You know, that's the feeling of aloha that you get here. And I hope the four of you guys come out here. I would love to produce your podcast out here. Let's bring Papa Bear. Let's bring that big Sam out here. You're going to have to cut the hair, kid. I don't know if I. No, guys, that's, you know, I'm wilding out now, but But yeah, let's hold each other up and let's treat each other with aloha. Let's do that. That's success.
That's perfect. It's so true. And I'll just add to that, showing up.
Yeah, show up.
Show up.
Show up.
My buddy, alumnus, friend of the podcast, Josh Plassey, wrote a book. And he had a book signing and a book event a couple of nights ago. And he invited me out to it. I didn't have to come. And if I didn't come, it wasn't going to hurt him. It wasn't going to change anything. But yet showing up meant so much to him. Just show up. Show up. I bought his book. I got him to sign it. And he remembers it. He's appreciative. We did that thing together. We did yet another thing together. So shout out to what you said earlier, expand laterally. So freaking true. And how you do that is you show up for each other. Yeah. Show up for each other. Don't just be that person that, and if you can't, sometimes you can't, but do your best to show up for each other. And then that feels so good. You feel like you're part of a community, and that feels like making it. So,
I mean, you know, we all love to sort of like surf the internet or go on Twitter and you look at the funny cat video or the guy who steps on a rake 7 or 8 times and you share that immediately. You have a friend who's a photographer who's trying to get headshots. Couldn't you just go to his page and share that as well? And say, hey, this is my friend Nick. He can do all these voices and this. He's a great person and blah, blah, blah. Check him out. But
with the caveat of what you said earlier, it's got to be good. So I've always said that you have an obligation to your friends and colleagues to be as good as you can be at the thing that you do.
That is
because
true.
They're implicated as well.
This is true.
And it's something I would tell my kids when they act up in school was we all have the same last name. So that, you know, that what you do is basically me, right? We saw that recently. We saw X in the Oval Office picking his nose for 3 minutes and saying all kinds of stuff. And then what do we say? Oh, he learned that from his daddy. You're right. So we all got the same last name. Anyway. It has been such a pleasure to have you on. It was everything I thought it would be and more, everything we thought it would be and more. Can you tell the people where to find you on social media, where to find you on the internet, and where they might see some of your work?
I will direct everyone to watch our first season of Moku Moku. That can be found on YouTube. You can see it on streaming service Tubi. We are also on Amazon Prime. And if you are taking a mainland flight or an international flight on Hawaiian Airlines, we are also on in-flight entertainment there. We also had like a run that I think I'd have to get the schedule. We're on Channel 5 in Hawaii, which is the CBS affiliate.
Okay.
I am on Instagram, Brad Starks 001, all one word. Let's see, the Moku Moku website is www.808mokumoku.com. Wow. Where else are we? I'm on Production Beast. I can be found there. Believe it or not, I have had some experience on camera, so I can also be found on Actors Access. Just sort of search me there. And I'm on Internet Movie Database as well. And then like on Facebook.
Otherwise known as IMDb.
And on Facebook as well, you'll find our Moku Moku there, Instagram as well. And once we get our nonprofit up and going, I would love to come back and talk to you guys more about that and bring some of my partners in crime with me.
Heck yeah. Love that. You heard it right from the horse's mouth. Go follow him on Instagram at Brad Starks 001 and he'll get right back to you. He's that kind of guy. I know that firsthand. We know that firsthand. So shout out to him, and he will get back to you. You can do that on Facebook as well, and all the various websites that he listed will be on the screen for you to see, and go check out his show. I think it's really great. I think you should do that. I watched it on YouTube. I think you guys can go to YouTube. And by the way, while you're there, subscribe, like, share the Make It podcast. It really means a lot. To have you guys do that. I know it's a small thing. You think everybody asked for that. They asked for it for a reason. It really makes a difference. It helps with discoverability. It helps with our growth. And this is something we work so hard on. We're a small team, but we work really hard on it. It means a lot to us. So do go out, like, subscribe the video. If you're listening to this podcast, keep doing what you're doing, but do find a way to rate us 5 stars on Apple and Spotify or Amazon. Again, it means a lot to us. And if you want to take an extra 30 seconds, you're sitting down, you're not in your car, go ahead and write us a short review as well. That would be really, really huge. And we would thank you for that. It means the world to us for you to do that. Okay. How do you get in touch with us? You can do that at www.themakeitpodcast.com. You can reach out to Nick at bonsai.film, send him an email about his hat and ask him, is that cloth or cork? You can reach out to me on X, formerly Twitter, at Flaming Your Heart. Your is spelled UR, and I respond to 100% of those messages as well. You can find us on Instagram at _MakeItPodcast, and on TikTok at _MakeItPodcast. And on Facebook, just by searching for the Make It Podcast. And again, we respond to 100% of DMs and comments. And again, Brad knows that firsthand. We'll like that thing. We'll respond to it. All the comments you guys and engagement you guys are leaving on YouTube, we are just blown away by it. We love it. We are so pumped by it. We want you guys to keep bringing it, and we'll keep bringing the engagement back to you. So, and shout out to Nick and Sam for running that community, section so well. So shout out to you guys while I'm thinking about it. Let's talk about apparel. Cotton Bureau. We got a partnership with Cotton Bureau. Buttery soft crew necks, hoodies, hats for your apparel desires there. We have multiple cities. I think we have 8 or 9 cities up. So you can make it in Washington, D.C. You can make it in Tokyo. You can make it in London. You can make it in Nashville. You can make it in L.A. Wear your filmmaking journey in your body. Walk around when that thing. All you have to do is go to cottonbureau.com and search for the Make It Podcast. And when you do that, we'll come right up. You can pick that up there. Last but not least, we have a bi-weekly newsletter called Indie Insights. We really love it. And it isn't like a typical like news aggregation newsletter. We put a lot of love into it. We find all the best little things from all around the film universe, and we stick it into the newsletter, including some things we should know from Papa Bear, unique audience polls from Sam, and so much more. Last but not least, bonsai.film. If you have a film you'd like to exploit, you can find us on bonsai.film. If you have a partnership idea, any kind of business inquiry, you can find us there at bonsai.film. Okay, that is a mouthful. With that, Nick, can you please leave us with the credo?
Shot of everybody just skeletons like
yeah. Just like, oh. The fact that his face didn't move, I actually thought his internet was frozen.
Right.
It's really impressive. Yeah.
But thanks, man. I appreciate you, dude. I did that for Sam. It's like people who sneeze with their eyes open.
No. I thought you had a stroke.
No. Diddy didn't get
be like, God damn, he done died on the show. Just wait.
No, Diddy didn't get me. So Brad, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you, dude. This was awesome. We knew it was going to be like this. Seriously, we did. This has just been a great experience for all of us. We will have you back on again to talk about the nonprofit. Bring your people, bring the family, bring the community. Let's make it happen. But with that, I have to say to our friends, our family, our fellow filmmakers out there, and our fans, be better, be creative, be engaged.
And thank you for listening. Nick, Brad, talk to you soon.
Got it, brother. Aloha, guys. Mahalo.
Yep. All right, guys. Y'all take it easy.
Sam, Papa Bear, love you.
Love you.
Be good.
Live on DAZN Worldwide, May 2nd and 3rd, Garcia versus Romero and Canelo versus Skull. Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern, Garcia returns in a history-making Times Square takeover. 24 hours later, Saturday from 7 p.m. Eastern, King Canelo faces undefeated Skull for the undisputed crown. May 2nd and 3rd, a knockout weekend of boxing. Pick one or go all in for only $90, exclusively on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Plan on flying? In order to board domestic flights, your driver's license or state-issued ID must be a real ID. Learn how to get your real ID today at tsa.gov/real ID or visit your local DMV.